My name's Harold Hodges. I'm company CEO and founder of HH Records, HH Music Company. And we have 167 songs copyrighted with BMI, Broadcast Music Incorporated, and registered with the Copyright Office, of course. This is my video, movie script, screen, and screenplay pitch that I'm offering to your companies. And it's taken from my copyrighted book entitled From McCARTNEY Jackson, My Brushes with Success, that is about my true life untold stories in the music business with Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, even John F. Kennedy, and even starting as when I was just a boy an age of 7 to 9 years old. And so it's exciting and everything, and so it's been seen by legendary producer, just yesterday actually, legendary producer, director Roger Corman, Julie Corman of Concord New Horizons Picture Corporation. And their director of new projects gave it thumbs up on top of that, and I've been working with him for 2 weeks. When Roger saw it yesterday and everything, he was really blown away with it and thought it was a great read and everything, and he said he would be interested in making the film, but he had commitments for a year to year and a half in advance with like HBO and Sci-Fi Channel and things like that, that it's occupying his commitments that he's already committed with. And so that's the reason why I'm coming to your company and companies like that. But yet, okay, to be, honored to the point of a legendary producer like Roger Corman saying that it was potential for a blockbuster movie hit and everything else, and also they said it would make $100 million or more the first weekend of release. Anything from McCartney to Jackson like that would bring that kind of money like that is an honor. So I'm very excited about that, and it's also should be considered by your company like that. I'm going to read my script and screenplay, but I'm going to have to read the first and the middle and the ending, but I'm going to have to not elaborate on it so much. If you and so because of time limits on eBay that I'm recording this on are limited to 10 minutes on YouTube, and so I'm going to abbreviate a lot of it and bring up the most exciting points of it. Okay, start the script and screenplay. The main characters in the film are Harold James Hodges, myself, and Eric Thompson, the other character. It's a fictitious, but Eric Thompson, he's the senior vice president of Paramount Pictures, and he gets some bad news that his brother James, younger brother James, has just passed away by his sister that called him, and so he asked his secretary to book him on the next flight to San Antonio, Texas. And so he flew to there to the burial of his brother, younger brother James. And so while he was in San Antonio, after the burial, he's on his way, he's driving the car, and of course he's in a downtrodden and a saddened state of mind. So as he's driving in bumper to bumper traffic, trying to go back to the San Antonio airport to fly back to LA, he's looking off to his right, and he sees a street person climbing out of a big garbage dumpster, and a street person. And so for some reason in his state of mind, because he always wanted to help his brother, always had heart problems, that's why he died. He always had heart problems, and he wanted to see his brother reach heights. He felt sorry for the street person, so he pulls over to the side and he rolls the window halfway down, and he says, "Are you hungry?" The street person says, "Yes, sir." So he said, "Well, get in. I'm going to take you and go get you something to eat." So that he jumps in there on their drive to a restaurant in San Antonio. Eric Thompson asked Harold Hodges, "What's your name?" And so Harold Hodges, the street person, says, "Harold James Hodges." And he says, "You know what? James was my brother's name." And he says, what do you mean, Eric, that your brother's name was James? He said, well, that's the reason why I'm in San Antonio, Texas, because we just buried my brother on Friday evening, and I'm on my way back right now to the San Antonio airport to fly back to LA, and so that's the reason why I'm in San Antonio. And of course, Harold Hodges' character says, I'm sorry to hear that. So anyway, next film scene shows Eric Thompson and Harold Hodges at a table there at a restaurant in San Antonio, and Eric Thompson, of course, you know, small talk because they're waiting on the waitress to bring their menus and everything else, and he asked the street person, Harold, he said, Harold, tell me something. He said, what brought you to have to live in such a horrible position like this in your life, to have to live this way as a, you know, living on the street? And so he said, Eric, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. He says, and he said, well, try me. I'll believe it. So he said, okay, here goes. So he tells him, he says, look, he says, at one time, he said, believe it or not, I was in the music business, and I wrote a song entitled Be Beatles for John that even Paul McCartney called me about. He said, really? And he says, yes. And he says, and on top of that, he said, and then after that excitement, he says, after that, I was devastated, and I just gave up on life itself, because I wrote a song that same year in 1990, 5 years before Michael Jackson came out with it, entitled Earth Song, that we sent through my entertainment attorney at Epic Records for Michael Jackson to record back in 1990, and then 5 years later, Michael Jackson came out with it on Epic Records, entitled Earth Song, and it was the same title, same everything. And he said, I was in a 2.5-year copyright infringement lawsuit against Michael Jackson for copyright infringement of my Earth Song. And so, because of Dirty Hands, and they owed me upwards of $97 million, and that was Michael Jackson's fourth highest rating song and hit song, Earth Song was for Michael Jackson. And I even gave them the video ideas. They used everything, same title, same video song, same everything. All my ideas, just, excuse my French, but just took everything. That it was all mine. And so I was devastated because I had to give up the lawsuit because of Dirty Hands and everything in the lawsuit. And so anyway, then he said, oh my goodness, he said, do you have anything to, he said, that's horrible, he said, but do you have anything to back up what you're telling me? Do you have any proof of this? And he said, yes, I wrote a book entitled From McCartney to Jackson, My Brushes with Success, about that after I had to give up the lawsuit because I was so devastated, and all the exciting things that happened during my life, brushes with success and important people. He said, well, do you have anything to verify this that I can look at? He said, yes. He said, you can contact the Copyright Office, and they should have a copy of my book and all my other stuff, script, screenplay, and all my songs, and 167 songs I wrote for my companies. And he said, okay, he says, if that's all true and I verify this, he says, I'm going to offer you, he said, how's this sound? He said, today's your lucky day because I'm Eric Thompson, Vice President of Paramount Pictures, and this is your lucky day because I'm going to offer you an advance of $250,000 on this blockbuster film that I believe this is going to be a blockbuster film. Anything about From McCartney Jackson on true life thing that's never been told before will make over $100 million first weekend of release. I'm going to give you an advance of $250,000. How's that sound, Harold? Well, the street person, Harold, had tears rolling down his face, said, you don't know how many times I've dreamed of someone recognizing and telling me that these very words. He said, okay, you want to go back to LA with me and get you cleaned up, get you some new clothes, and we'll fly back to LA and make your story? He said, yes. He said, and this will be great. He said, okay. And so they took off for LA. And this is part one. We're coming to part two.